So, Rutgers fans, for the first time in 6 games, we lose a game. This ends our 5 game winning streak. And, this is kind of par for the course in Big Ten play. I know people don't want to hear that. I know that, a lot of people want to come out. You really wanted to capitalize on that Purdue win by winning 2 straight at home, especially these 2 games against Maryland and Iowa, where it seemed like Maryland and Iowa were reeling a little bit, were not playing very well in their early conference play. You felt like if Rutgers is going to be one of the top couple teams in the Big Ten, then Rutgers is going to have to take care of business against these 2 teams who, are not playing their best basketball necessarily. And you expect that at home we're going to be able to do that, especially after we've capitalized on the road in Purdue. It's unfortunate because we are constantly going to be resume watching now, and that's because, we didn't get the call to go our way against Ohio State, and I know I bring that up every video, but it's just going to be on our minds from now until the end of the year. It is what it is. And B, we fumbled a little bit in some of the early outings against Seton Hall at home, against Temple at a neutral site, against Miami on the road. So, you're going to be resume watching, and you're going to be counting the wins, and you're going to be counting the road and the homes, and et cetera, et cetera. Fact still remains, though, that Iowa is a Big Ten team. They're not going to go 0-20 in the Big Ten. They're not going to go out without swinging. And the fact is they have a good offense, whether they're down or not. They beat us 76-65. If you were going to draw up the perfect game that Rutgers could lose this year, like what's the perfect scenario for Rutgers to lose, the perfect storm? I would tell you when our defense is not as stifling, when the other team is just ridiculously hot offensively, especially from the perimeter, and when Rutgers offensively just cannot consistently find the bottom of the net. And you would basically have that scenario here. Whereas last game I said, when the team is playing up to its best potential, every player on the team from the starting 5 deep into the bench is fulfilling a specific role and fulfilling their role well. This game was kind of indicative of a team where every player was not quite fulfilling their role very well. Mawot Mag, 9 points, 1 assist, 5 rebounds, played 26 minutes. You'd think that's a decent stat line. He had some plays where his presence was felt in a couple possessions, a couple trips down the floor for Iowa especially, but overall his offensive play early in the game and then mid to late in the game was a bit erratic. And that's an issue with Mawot Mag. I like him. He's a good player. He's a nice player. But again, if you had to highlight, not players doing their best in their roles, but kind of showing some of their liabilities, I thought Mag on the offensive side of the ball, despite the 9 points, showed some of his vulnerabilities. Cliff Omorui, 34 minutes, only 9 points, 9 rebounds, 0 assists. He was pretty good on the he was decent on the offensive board, especially later in the game, but he struggled a little bit down there. He hit some free throws, which you wanted, but again, Cliff was not an ultra-dominant force against this team, which you might have hoped for, especially with what they have down low, but it didn't turn out that way. Derek Simpson, 22 minutes, 1 assist, 1 rebound, 8 points. I thought Simpson did a pretty good job. Again, this is going to be a theme whenever this team loses. There's going to be sloppy offensive possessions. There's going to be offensive possessions where you don't love the shot selection. He was guilty of a couple plays like that, but I thought he played relatively well overall. Caleb McConnell was him and Cam Spencer had the most points on the team. McConnell had 12 points, 4 assists, 7 rebounds. I thought McConnell had a pretty decent game, all things considered. Spencer, 13 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds. I thought Cam did his best, sinking some serious threes when we needed him. He missed a couple, but overall, Cam played his role pretty well. Paul Mulcahy, 7 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds. I don't think Paul had his best game. Not maybe his worst game, but not his best game. But here's the thing. Despite not everybody having their best game, despite not everybody playing their roles the way you really want to see them play their roles, I don't think in particular that this was a terrible game by Rutgers. I mean, we started off with a bad energy or just, sloppy on the offensive side of the ball. And Iowa started off just sinking their shots, hitting their shots, and especially around the perimeter, just sinking their shots. Iowa is just a really good perimeter shooting team. And, I kind of make fun of them because we're Jersey guys and they get on my nerves. And I'm kind of like, hey, they're just farm boys and they're damn three-pointers. Like, they don't have any pavement out there. So they just stand in the middle of the field and they shoot at the hoop attached to the garage or the barn or whatever. And they just sink them. And they, putting the ball on the floor is not their forte, but they're going to sink threes. I make fun of them, but look, at the end of the day, they're a good team. And they're a good offensive shooting team. And the fact is that when we tried to mount comebacks, and I was in the building, when we attempted to mount comebacks against them, we got close several times. And every time we got close to mounting an actual comeback and maybe getting the equalizer, Iowa hit a 3 or 2 threes, and it just put the game out of reach. And it wasn't 2-pointers. It wasn't 1 free throw. It was 3-pointers. Every time we really needed to build some momentum, it was 3-pointers that really buried us. And so that was a problem, and it was going to continue to be a problem, and it is a problem. So we just couldn't guard. We couldn't close out on the perimeter well enough, especially later in the game. We would play great D. The crowd would be into it. It would be, the energy was in there. You could feel like we were about to turn the corner, and it happened multiple times in that game, especially towards the beginning of the second half of the first half and kind of towards the end of the second half. You felt like there might be some momentum there, but every time Iowa was able to shut the door with a timely shot from the perimeter. A few times they were really nice shots and just really nice offense, and a few other times we just failed to close out our perimeter defense, and it was a problem. And look, let's face it, Iowa gave us a taste of our own medicine. They were pressing most of the game, throwing us out of our element, gave us some of our own medicine. And that threw us off to an extent. And it's not because we're the best half-court offense in the league, because we're far from it, but still throwing us out of our rhythm actually threw us out of our defensive rhythm as well. And that is not going to work on us when we're playing good D, we're generating turnovers, and we're generating points in transition. When we're doing that, then the press isn't going to work. But if the other team's able to get down, set up their half-court offense and hit perimeter shots consistently and get us to start pressing and missing and playing sloppy on offense, then that full court press is really going to hurt us. And so Iowa, I thought, really did a good job at implementing a game plan and a strategy, executing it well by hitting those shots and throwing us out of our rhythm and getting us to press and just simply straight up beat us. And it's depressing because you dropped to 3-2 in the Big Ten. You got to win some tough games now. You got to continue to do that. It's not going to be easy. It was never going to be easy. But this is one of the games that you lose. What's a shame about it is we played at such a high level in each of our previous Big Ten games that we should be walking away at 4-1. Instead, we're 3-2 because of that Ohio State loss. If you take away that Ohio State loss and you take away the Temple loss and you look at a loss like this is the type of thing that happens. Sometimes Iowa just comes in, is red hot shooting, and punches you in the mouth. And Iowa's a good shooting team, but they're not going to be that red hot shooting every time. It just so happened today on Sunday afternoon, they were red hot shooting. And they did what they had to do. And we didn't have an answer. I thought defensively at first we were kind of lax, and you saw Pike made a bunch of substitutions, and he had to. Andre Hyatt played 16 minutes to Mawat Mag's 26. To be fair, I would have put Hyatt in a little more. I thought Hyatt was having a decent game today, and I thought Mag was a bit of a liability. We can shift things around. I liked when Pike put Reber in early because he could guard the perimeter maybe a bit better than Cliff. And he did cause some problems initially, but then he had the fouls. And, then they started going down low on him. So, end of the day, Iowa just had a good game plan. They're a good team, and they executed. They're also a desperate team. They finally got a taste of victory a couple days ago. And they were coming in here on a mission. And I think we were the opposite. We were playing really good ball, and we were at home, and we kind of thought, hey, Iowa's not playing great. And, when we woke up and started turning up the intensity the way we're capable of, I think it was a little bit late. And that just happens sometimes. So I'm not going to get reeled down on the team for this loss. I'm not happy with it. It wasn't a great performance. But the way the team is constructed, the way the team has played thus far in conference play, the way the team is capable of playing, the way certain players have shown they can play, I'm not completely, down on this team. I'm not going to be completely dejected. We get back to work on Wednesday against Northwestern. That's a 9 o'clock game, 9 p.m. And we got to get a W. And then shortly after that, next Sunday at 12, we have Ohio State coming to town. And we want revenge on them. We want revenge on them for what they did to us. So it's right back at it, man. We're going to get another shot at Iowa January 29th. It's in Iowa. It's not going to be easy. But we get another shot at them. And they seem to have our number a little bit as of late. In the tournament, the Big Ten tournament last year and whatnot. We played them pretty well other times, but it seems like they've kind of been outplaying us a bit, and they're just a rough matchup because of that perimeter shooting ability and our offensive woes. If we play them next and we want to put a stop, we're really going to have to be locked in on defense, and we're going to have to play stifling perimeter defense. And it's just going to have to be what it is. You're going to have to take your chances down low. You're going to have to play stifling perimeter defense because that's how they beat us. It wasn't just field goals. It was 3-point field goals the entire game. You hit that many three-pointers, and it's going to be difficult to do anything. It's just going to be difficult. When you hit that many three-pointers, you try to catch up, it's going to be hard to catch up. They're building a lead. They're not just building, a regular lead. They're building a lead with a bunch of three-pointers and an excessive lead. And so when that type of stuff happens, it's tough to deal with. They were 12 of 27 from three-point range, shooting 44%. And we were 5 of 18, shooting 27%. I mean, that's going to hurt you. That's going to hurt you. They were 44% on regular field goals, 25 of 56. We were 24 of 63, 38%. So a significant percentage difference in the 2-point field goals. But the 3-point field goals buried us. You lose a game by 11 points and they hit 12 3-pointers and we hit 5. Well, there's a big difference there. A big difference there. Our free throws were better than theirs, though. Another decent free throw shooting day. We only missed 3 free throws total. Shot 80%. That bodes well for the rest of the season. So that's something that's, knock on wood, that has stayed consistent through the season, and we've done well with the with the free throw shots. So not the end of the world, guys. The schedule doesn't get any easier. We go to Northwestern on the road, and then back home against Ohio State, and then we got to go to Michigan State, back home against Penn State, Iowa, back home against Minnesota and Michigan State. I mean, this is the Big Ten. Round and round we go. Let's get our butts up, get refocused, and get a win. Now, will we be ranked this week? I'm curious. We had 2 big wins and then this loss at home. I think we get ranked, but it's going to be close. But you can't worry about rankings right now. What you should be worried about is the different metrics and other rankings in some of these analytical spaces that bode for the tournament. And thus far this season, it's my understanding our rankings in some of these things like Ken Palm and the net and things have been decent enough or good enough that it bodes well for our tournament resume going forward. But we're going to have to string wins together more consistently in conference, especially at home. You got to win your home schedule because it's so damn hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. You got to do it. So let's hope we get back on track. It was a fun, Sunday afternoon nonetheless. Not ideal for anybody in the building. Students, they showed out even though it's winter break. I think we'll see a much more robust student section going forward with school back in session. The crowd was great today. I was actually surprised at how great it was with football going on, a little bit of an early tip-off and whatnot, but the crowd was great. There was a lot of energy. Everybody was pumped up for Rutgers, and it makes sense because you win 2 big games, but you're going to have these slip-ups in the Big Ten, and you just got to deal with it, and you pick yourself up. I will mention the refs seemed like they were flown in straight from Des Moines. Didn't like the way they called the game, to be honest with you. They seemed to miss a couple calls on us, serious calls. And they called a decent game overall, but it seemed like they were calling more of a soft game. If you're going to call more of a soft game, then it's going to favor Iowa. That's just how it's going to go. It's going to favor Iowa. They were calling them on both of us, but they were calling a soft game. That's going to favor Iowa every time, because they want to play that finesse shooting type style, and we want to play body up, tough style. I did notice that they let us play a little more during our runs. One of the things that I saw most consistently was when we were making a run and we started to grab momentum, the refs were letting us play. And we were able to get physical down low and whatnot, physical on the boards and physical on defense, and get some steals and get some boards and get some outlet passes and get things going. But that wasn't consistent. And the calls weren't necessarily consistent either. There were some real questionable ones. But that's life in the Big Ten. And again, you got to pick yourself up. You got to move forward. So we got Northwestern in a couple days. Plenty of time to redeem ourselves. Everybody enjoy your Sunday night. If you haven't done so yet, and you enjoy the Night Watch, if you're a Rutgers fan, if you're a Big Ten basketball fan at all, if you just like cool YouTube sports content, take 2 seconds if you can, less than 2 seconds. Take a millisecond and hit the subscribe button. It's right underneath me, right here. Just click it right now. Come on, just right now. Click the subscribe button. Click the like button. We're growing the channel. Welcome to all the new subscribers. We're trying to just get to 100. We're taking it incrementally. Let's get to 100 subscribers before we proceed on to bigger and better things. And I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Until then, enjoy your week and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good night.